Hey, welcome back to Visions Now, Supper Club. All views expressed for their educational and journalistic purposes, they're not the views of the management, advertisers, and staff of 92.1 FM. However, Visions does desire to bring a quality entertainment program which intellectually stimulates and culturally fulfills our community's needs to develop leadership and informed decision-making for our collective future. Welcome to the village, often imitated, but never duplicated. I'm Dr. Jaylene Hood, your host and executive producer. Welcome.
Changes which are to come can only come as a result of a program worked out by Black people. And for Black people to be able to work out a program, they need to defeat the one main element in politics which was working against them, and this was the psychological feeling of inferiority. So then in 1968, we started forming what is now called SASO, the South African Students Organization, which was firmly based on Black consciousness, the essence of which was for the Black man to elevate his own position by positively looking at those value systems that make him distinctively a man in society. First of all, we said as Black students, we could not participate. Changes which are to come can only come as a result of a program worked out by Black people.
You don't have to crash out. All you got to do is accept the fact that I want a divorce, and that's it. I don't
give a fuck your divorce. I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad about that. What I'm mad about is the fact that you're ungrateful. What I'm mad about is the fact that nothing is ever good enough for you. What I'm mad about is the fact that you can't even accept the fact that you got good ass, not none cheating ass.
I don't care about cheating.
Yeah,
I don't. They don't side with finances.
You want the drug, that's what you want.
Yelling back and forth, a baby crying in the background. Fellas, let me talk to you. Leave. It's all right. You shouldn't be going back and forth. It's toxic, bad energy. Walk away, young man. Walk away. A lot of people put too much emphasis on money. You can have it today, broke tomorrow. Broke today, have it tomorrow. What happens when the money becomes obsolete and becomes fleeting? Then what you gonna do? I heard a baby yelling and crying. This is what be going on behind closed doors. And it's sad. This is not good. This is not a good look. No.
This is the unwritten truth. Black votes, white gains. Since 1870. In 1870, they told Black men, you can vote now, with the 15th Amendment. But what did we gain? Poll taxes, literacy tests, violence. They made sure our votes meant nothing. In 1920, Black women got the 19th Amendment, but Jim Crow, Black codes, and intimidation kept them locked out too. They told us, your ancestors died for this right. But did they die for systemic poverty, exclusion, and silence? They handed us Juneteenth as a holiday, put up a random Black woman statue in Times Square, and called it progress. Meanwhile, others got real laws. The LGBTQ Equality Act, the Asian Hate Crime Bill, but for us, nothing. The Civil Rights Act wasn't a win. It was a strategic move to break Black unity. shutting down black schools, businesses, and independence. And now, watch as 2028 approaches. They'll parade a young white male Democratic candidate, promising everything but giving us nothing. From 1870 to now, black votes have been used to fuel white gains. The system isn't broken. It was designed this way. This is the unwritten truth.
There comes a moment in the life of a nation when silence is betrayal, when continued obedience is suicide, and when bowing to the same hands that choke you is no longer diplomacy, it is surrender. My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I do not speak with the polish of career diplomats. I do not wear the cologne of multinational boardrooms. I was not trained in Washington nor groomed in Geneva. I speak from the battlefield where my people bleed and the soil remembers. I speak for a nation that has long been treated like a debtor's prison. And today I speak directly to the International Monetary Fund, not with trembling hands, but with a voice rooted in centuries of African pain and now African awakening. For too long, the IMF has posed as a benevolent doctor prescribing economic treatment to sick nations. But what we've learned, what we've suffered, is that your medicine often kills the patient. Your loans arrive with smiles, but they are poisoned arrows wrapped in contracts. You speak of stabilization, but you deliver strangulation. You speak of reform, but what you really mean is obedience to models built in foreign labs never meant for African soil. But we are not your laboratory. We are not your experiments. We are not pawns in your economic chess game. Burkina Faso and the whole of Africa is waking up. We wake, we do not ask for permission to breathe. You see, I come not to beg for cancellation. I come not to plead for relief. I come to tell you what no African leader has dared say loudly enough. We no longer accept economic policies that reduce our people to beg. There comes a moment in the life of a nation when silence is betrayal, when continued obedience is suicide, and when bowing to the same hands that choke you is no longer diplomacy, it is surrender.
One red flag, leave, so you don't create broken homes, so you don't create soul ties. You can be everything but nothing to somebody. And I'm going to say this until I die. I was with a man for 8 years, a good woman, do whatever this man wanted, worked, took care of our kids. And that still was not enough. You know why? Because I was nothing to him. What I had to offer was not nothing, but it would have been everything to somebody else. Do not waste your time pouring into somebody that does not want to pour back into you. Do not waste your time with somebody that does not really love you, that does not really want you. The moment you get one red flag, leave, so you don't create broken homes, so you don't create soul ties. You deserve better. You have always deserved better. You have always deserved better. The moment somebody throws you off, get rid of them. There's no fixing it. If it's meant to be, they're going to get it right the first time around. I'm telling you. You're not going to ever have to feel upset. You're not going to ever have to cry. You're not going to ever have to remind somebody how to love you. It is going to come naturally. Let that shit go. Let it go.
Everybody had to ask themselves, are you responsible for someone else's trauma? Because hurt people hurt people. And what a lot of people don't understand is what don't kill you make you stronger. And the thing that you go through is for a reason, whether it's your accountability or it's to make you accountable. Build character, build understanding, and learn how you may have made somebody feel and now you feeling it. Accountability go all across the board. But you know, we always want to send our prayers up to those that go through certain things and those that face certain challenges in life and they don't feel at the time they had the answers. Big salute to anyone that's being supportive of somebody going through challenges. And you know, when you see people hurting, if you have a comfort in spirit, and show that person some mercy, some grace, and some comfort. Okay? All right. Have a good day.
In which you describe white people as visitors in South Africa. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Now, how do you reconcile this constitutional notion that South Africa belongs to all who live in it and that white people are visitors in South Africa?
You arrived here as settlers in 1652. It's a historical fact. And you were using South Africa as a refreshment station. You were not here to settle. You were passing. Because of our Africanness and the spirit of Ubuntu, we have embraced you and we have shared our land with you. And we have accepted that you have naturalized in this country. But it doesn't change the fact that you came here as a visitor.
So let me ask you that, let's clarify that.
Yes.
Do you accept that there are many people in South Africa, black and white, Indian colored, Chinese, who came to South Africa from another country at some point?
And not blacks. Not blacks. We came from one country called Africa.
Huh? I understand. So in other words, the claim is anyone who's on the continent of Africa belongs in South Africa, is that correct? Was not a visitor?
No. South Africa is Africa. We are one country called Africa. This South Africa you are talking about was imposed on us. So we didn't come from anywhere. Speak for yourself. We didn't come from anywhere. There's no African who came from anywhere. We came from here. I mean, my Lord, I cannot come from the second bedroom in this house, and then I find you in another bedroom in the same house, and then you say I came from somewhere. In the same house. I didn't come from somewhere. I was sleeping on the other side. We're here. So we are not visitors. We didn't come from anywhere. This is our continent.
In which you describe white people as visitors in South Africa, is that correct?
Is commuting the sentence of Larry Hoover.
The 74-year-old has been seeking early release from 6 life sentences for murder, conspiracy, extortion. He was even accused of continuing to give orders to the gang from behind bars.
Your land, your language, but not your legacy. Reclaim it at AfricanAncestry.com.
For viewers unfamiliar with your work, right, especially your tours inspired by Egypt on the Potomac, can you explain the connection between Kemet, Freemasonry, and the layout and symbolism embedded in Washington, D.C.?
So because of the fact that I was born in Chicago, Chicago is the home of architecture. The first skyscraper in the world was built in Chicago. Chicago has some of the greatest architecture in the world. I had aspirations of being an architect. I took 2 years of architecture courses in high school. My freshman year at the University of Illinois, I majored in architecture. I was ready for a change. I left University of Illinois, came to Howard, changed my major from architecture to design. So I am by training an artist. I've been drawing all of my life. And the beautiful thing about artists is that artists have the capacity to see things that aren't there. Artists have the capacity to create things and bring them into existence. So because of my training as an artist, I've learned to view history through the lens of art, and that I can read a book and visualize what the person is talking about. I can see images, I can see shapes. So when I look at things around me, I see them on multiple levels simultaneously. I look at buildings, I could read a building like a person would read a book, right? Because I understand what goes into creating a building and designing a building. So I made my first trip to Egypt in 1980. I made my second trip to Egypt in 1985. And after returning to DC for my second trip to Egypt, I saw the Washington Monument and said, wait a minute, I just saw those in Egypt.
What's at the heart of every growing business? It's people.
People doing the work behind the work.
And I realized Washington Monument is called an obelisk, which is a Greek name for an identical object that was created in Egypt that was known as a Tekken. It's the oldest symbol of resurrection. So I began asking questions. Why is there a Tekken in Washington, D.C.? And why has DC law mandated that there's no object that can be taller than that structure? So I ask questions, and every question seeks an answer, right? And as I was pursuing answers to the questions that I was asking, that led to the creation of what was originally known as the Afrocentric Tour of Washington, D.C., which I created in 1986. In 2005, I rebranded it Egypt on the Potomac. So that activity will be 40 years next year. And what it consists of is my curiosity leading me to answer the question, why is the Washington Monument the tallest object in Washington, D.C.? And by researching the history of the layout, design, and development of the city, I created the Egypt on the Potomac field trip. And so I discovered that America's founding fathers, many of whom were Masons, had an understanding and appreciation of Kemetic or Nile Valley history and culture. And that Tekken, the Washington Monument, is a 6,000-year-old symbol that represents the resurrection of Asar. The Asar story is the oldest story, the first story of resurrection known to mankind. So when the Masons erected that building, I think around 1880, they actually they named the monument in honor of George Washington for the public perception. But inside of the monument, they actually dedicated to Asar, the first king of Kemet. So information is always presented on multiple levels. And so my interest is in drilling down into the deeper levels of the presentation of anything. So Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution set aside an area no larger than a 10-mile square that was to serve as the capital of the United States of America. First capital was in New York, then it moved to Philly, then it was in Delaware, then it was at multiple locations. And these white men decided that they needed to create a permanent seat of government for the United States. George Washington was charged with the responsibility for determining where that new seat of government was going to be. George Washington was, in many respects, the Donald Trump of his day. He brokered deals with people who own land in Maryland and people who own land in Virginia on the east and west banks of the Potomac River. And so he had them sell their land to the government at an inflated price. And once that 10-mile square on the east and west bank of the Potomac River was identified, then they came in and bought plots of land at a reduced rate and then sold those plots of land to the federal government at an inflated rate, right? So that's how Washington, D.C. came to be created, but also a 10-mile square. A square is important because squares in masonry are foundations upon which men's lives are transformed. So it makes sense that since America was established by men who were practitioners of the craft, white men who studied African knowledge, and they used that African knowledge to lift themselves up out of poverty, out of ignorance. So they practice African principles without identifying them as African. And they use those principles to create what has become the wealthiest and most powerful nation in human history. So that's why you have African symbols on the front and back of the dollar bill. That's why you have an African symbol in the geographical center of the capital of the wealthiest and most powerful nation in human history. So when I began to identify those symbols as African or as Kemetic or Nile Valley symbols, because I made a mistake when I wrote the Browder File and said that the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill was an Egyptian pyramid. I didn't realize until I went to Kush in 2016 that it's a Kushite pyramid. The angle of the Kushite pyramid is steeper than the angles of the Kemetic pyramid, which means that in 1778, I believe is the date that they created the symbols on the Great Seal. Whoever those people were, they knew something about Kushite history, right? And they knew the power associated with symbols. They knew the power associated with numbers. So they were very, very strategic about creating this nation with 13 colonies, right? They're very strategic about placing African symbols, surrounding themselves with African symbols so that they could be empowered by the energy that is transferred, that is conducted through those symbols. DC is in shape of a square. The square is aligned to the 4 cardinal points of the compass. Asar's monument sits in the geographical center of that square. The main street that runs from the monument up to the northern point of the square is 16th Street. 16th Street is the spiritual corridor of Washington, D.C. 16th Street is the avenue of churches. You have more churches on that 7-mile stretch of land than any other 7 miles in the United States of America. You got 2 Masonic temples on that street. So the use of architecture, sacred science, is embedded in the landscape of Washington, D.C. And all they did was copy the use of sacred architecture that was used in Kemet, all throughout Kemet, specifically in Waset, or the city that's now known as Luxor and Karnak. So these white men were not original by any stretch of the imagination. They used ancient African knowledge to empower themselves while at the same time enslaving the descendants of those people, stripping them of their historical and cultural memory, and then using them as a free source of labor in order to create the capital, which made this nation the powerful nation as it is. Now, I tell you something that I'm just really beginning to understand now, after all of this journey, that I don't think all of this was done solely to disenfranchise African people. I see it as part of a larger plan where Africans were aware that they were going to fall. And so they had to make sure that they would have the tools available to them to rise again at the appropriate time. So certain information had to be buried, certain information had to be hidden in plain sight, so that when the time was right to dig up this knowledge, to dig up these symbols, to dig up this information, you would have it at your disposal, and you can now use it to liberate yourself. So that, as I'm talking about it, it gives further explanation to one of the final scenes in Ryan Coogler's film, Sinners, where Smoke is about to smoke the Ku Klux Klan. So he's got this box with all of these weapons, and he buries the box so that after he finishes sniping and taking out the core group of bad guys, living vampires, people who suck the lifeblood, the money, the energy, the talent out of African people, he then goes and unburies his Tommy gun, and then he smokes the rest of them, right? So I think that's a metaphor for where we are right now. This Klan consciousness that has reclaimed the White House and that are very open in their arrogant moves to make America hate again.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise. I know this is hard to hear, but it's important.
They're destroying this environment. And I've come to realize that there are African men and women in the midst of all of this who are unearthing certain treasures that have been buried right in their own backyard. And we're using those tools to free our minds and ultimately free ourselves. And it makes sense that this is happening at this point in time now, which is the 100th anniversary of Arthur Schomburg having written an article called "The Negro Digs Up His Past," right? And we are literally and figuratively digging up our past and finding the tools that we can use to liberate ourselves. So if you think in terms of Schomburg wrote that article in 1925, and a 10-year-old John Clark read that article, and that inspired him to jump on a freight train and travel up to Harlem to meet Arthur Schomburg. And with all of his youthful ignorance and arrogance, he demanded Schomburg teach him everything he knew. And Schomburg just laughed and said, "Boy, go and learn about your enemy. Study your enemy, then study yourself, then study the world that your enemy created, and then come back to me with that knowledge so that we can have an intelligent discussion." So in terms of young folk who are just discovering me and the information that has been poured into me, be like the young Clark and want more, but also be like the young Clark and listen to the information that's being imparted. Don't jump out there and try to do these things before you're ready. Read, study, process what you've read and studied. Learn how this information is applicable in different phases of your life, right? In different places in the world. And once you gain that knowledge, once you've mastered that knowledge, then come and sit at the feet of someone who can now teach you what you're now ready to learn. Because before, you weren't ready. It would have been like pouring water in a glass that's already full. So you have to be willing to submit to the process. You have to be willing to be patient. You have to be willing to do the work. There are no shortcuts. YouTube and TikTok are not going to teach you what you need in order to live to be 75 years old, 80 years old. You know, you have to learn patience. You have to learn wisdom. You have to learn when to speak and when to shut the hell up, right? Those are skills that are not being taught to a generation who need to master those skills now, because the world is changing so dramatically and so quickly that when this technology that is all you know is no longer accessible to you, you're going to have to come face to face with your real self. And rather than freaking out, you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to woman up. You're going to have to man up and tap into that ancestral intelligence that has always been inside you, waiting for you to humble yourself and be still. Stop bragging, right? And listen to the voices of reason that can get you through this difficult period so that you can get on the other side and be of service to those who are going to need your wisdom in the generations to come and the lifetimes to come. So you got to see yourself as part of a continuum. Your life is not just about this life. It's not just about what's happening right now, what you have right now. It's about all the lives that you lived prior. It's about all the lives that you're going to live in the future, and how all of those lives live in the present. So what you do now will determine the fate of all of those lives. And when you understand how truly precious and valuable your life is, you won't waste it doing foolish things, engaging in activities that will not benefit you 10 years from now, 15 years from now, activities that will only hold you back and cause you unnecessary regret. So know yourself, love yourself, and be the best you possible is the advice that I could give.
That we all can agree to disagree, and we don't have to attack one another. But you are the very pastor that referred to Councilwoman and myself because you disagreed with something that we did as in-house Negroes. So that came from you, a pastor. But now you come here being self-righteous and want to tell us about it's okay to agree to disagree. You want to change the narrative now that you got something that you can lay it on. But let me say something to you, sir, with all due respect. You have your right to say anything that you want to say, and I do agree. We do have the right to agree to disagree, but we never have to resort to name calling. And that's what you did to Councilwoman Tucker and myself, and there haven't been an apology or anything on your part. So if you're going to give the advice, listen to yourself and follow it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I respond, please? I've seen others respond, so I'm going to ask if I can respond.
Don't allow. I'm sorry, Pastor.
Okay, if I can respond, because he brought it up, and I believe that I need to.
He has to ask you a direct question.
Well, I want to respond to it because it's out of context.
I'll give you 5 seconds, 10 seconds to go ahead and say your answer.
Well, let me say this, Mr. Baron Hickey. I never call names. I never called your name, and I definitely did not call Toya Tucker's name. I stated, yes, and I don't back down, they're in-house Negroes. I did say that.
That's all.
However, I did not call any names. Go back and ask the news reporters. But I was always told when guilty dogs, wait, hold up.
Let him, gentlemen.
Now I've been here, Mayor, and I've seen others who was given, particularly when it came to the animal situation. So I'm asking.
We can't have give and take and go back and forth.
No, and I mean to disrespect.
I get that.
Mayor.
That's our rules, and I gave you a little bit of time to respond. I hope.
Go back and check
you'll
the tape.
understand.
Go
Thanks,
back and
sir.
check the tape, Mr. Hickey, because you got your information.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
misrepresentation.
Thank
So
you,
God
sir.
bless you.
Thank you. All right, we've got a.
Not many people knew why
Hello, Visionaries. This is Dr. Jaylene Wood, the host and executive producer for Visions Now, and also your Mystic brother. That's right, with the Mystic Moment, 92.1 FM, Smooth R&B, every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we're the one that said, help us help you. And what we're trying to do is that we're trying to get money into our community. We spend too much money with other people that don't do nothing for our community. All of this water here, that we are here for fundraisers for you, okay, to help us provide resources for our programs for our young people. We were just in Elizabeth County yesterday. We're going to be going to Warren Williams, going to be going to Fowley Homes, and we're coming to a neighborhood near you. But the bottom line is that if you have an athletic team, they need to be drinking real water. This is water not from Walmart. This is from the Black Wall Street Network. We have to bring our dollars back home. We're making everybody rich, okay, and also making us emotionally poor because we don't support each other. So if you have a business out there, restaurant, or you know somebody, or you just want to get some water for your own personal use, this is the best water in the business. None better. God made this water. It's artesian spring water. Artesian. Don't go by just the color. I'm not gonna call no name. That blue bottle and them all these other jackleg bottles. No. This is the real water. Hello, Visionaries. This is Dr.
During history, one where the first Memorial Day is not born from official decrees, but from the heart of freedmen in a war-torn city. This tale lost to the history books and buried beneath the soil of Charleston, South Carolina. Join me as we talk about the forgotten story of the first Memorial Day. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at OneMicHistory.com. Also, you can support the YouTube channel, and I have a new channel, One Mic 2. Please subscribe. But without further ado, let's get started. Memorial Day's origins are shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Numerous towns across the United States vie for the honor of being recognized as its birthplace. Among those, Waterloo, New York, or Carbondale, Illinois stand out, yet historians believed
that the first continuous commemoration might be in Columbus, Mississippi, where in April of 1866, a group of compassionate women took it upon themselves to decorate the graves of fallen soldiers, turning their grief into a solemn tradition. However, a lesser known yet equally compelling tale comes from Freedmen in Charleston, South Carolina. This hidden chapter came to light thanks to David Blight, a professor of American history at Yale University. On a fateful day in 1996, while digging through boxes at Harvard's Halton Library, he stumbled upon a treasure, a handwritten account of the first Decoration Day in 1865. Accompanying this narrative was a clipping from a New York Tribune labeled First Decoration Day. So, in the spring of 1865, the Civil War just ended. The city of Charleston laid in ruins, a somber backdrop against a slow march towards freedom. The war had left many scars, but none more profound than the makeshift prison at Washington's Racecourse and Jockey Club, a once lavish playground for the Southern elite, was now a stark reminder of cruelty and captivity. Here, in the open-air field of the racetrack, more than 260 Union soldiers perished, subjugated to disease and exposure, their bodies hastily buried into a mass grave. Once Confederate forces evacuated, leaving behind the battered city, an extraordinary event unfolded, initiated by the newly freed African Americans. These men and women who had just endured the shackles of enslavement stepped forward to honor those who laid unremembered in the makeshift graves. And as their first act of liberty was not one of celebration for themselves, but one of commemoration for the fallen. With meticulous care, they exhumed the mass graves, and over 10 days, they reburied each soldier, transforming the site into a dignified resting place. They erected a towering whitewashed fence around the newly sanctified ground, declaring it martyrs of the racecourse. This act was not just about giving the soldiers a proper burial, but it was a profound statement of humanity and grace from those who had long been denied it. And then, in April 1st, 1865, what happened next was truly unprecedented. What can only be described as a collective moment of catharsis. Approximately 10,000 people, mostly Black freedmen in Charleston, South Carolina, gathered at the racecourse. The day commemorates with a parade of 3,000 Black school children who marched holding roses and singing John Brown's Body. They, followed by scores of adults from Aid Society for free Black men and women. But these scenes were not about a somber mourning, but a peaceful celebration and a tribute to the spirit of the fallen and the declaration of a new beginning. Throughout the day, Black pastors delivered moving sermons, led spiritual hymns, filled the air of hope and renewal, and families gathered for picnics under the warm spring air, sharing stories and dreams for the future. Patriotic songs echoed throughout the day, and as the afternoon wore on, Black and white Union regiments marched around the grave sites in a powerful display of unity. The graves themselves were transformed with a tapestry of flowers filled with sweet scents mingled with the spring breeze, and the sight was said to have brought a tear of joy to many an eye. It was a heartful tribute, a moment of pure human connection from the depths of sorrow and strife. For many years after, the story remained hidden, cloaked in the silence of the white community of Charleston. It briefly resurfaced in a forgotten correspondence in a 1916 letter from the United Daughters of the Confederacy in New Orleans, seeking information about a large parade of freedmen on a horse track at the end of the war. The reply from the Charleston chapter was regretful and evasive, stating that I regret I am unable to gather any official information in response to this. Decades later, Union General John A. Logan led a veterans group called for a National Day of Remembrance for Fallen Soldiers, which was officially marked as Memorial Day, March 30th, 1868. Celebrations began taking place at Arlington Cemetery, and with each passing year, the origins of the day in Charleston grew dimmer and faded from the collective memory of the nation. Fast forward to the 20th century, when the once sacred site of the old racetrack was replaced with urban development, and the original graves were relocated to Beaufort's National Cemetery. Thus, the true origins of Memorial Day were overshadowed by a more formal national observance. However, the story doesn't end there. Many years later, at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History, historian David Blight shared a forgotten history of the first Memorial Day. After his presentation, an older Black woman approached him, her voice tinged with curiosity and awe. She recounted her grandfather had told her stories of a parade led by freedmen on an old racetrack, stories that she always wondered if they were actually a part of family legend or something more substantial. She asked Blight, "Do you know stories are true?" Visibly moved, Blight confirmation, renewed interest, and validation to the legacy preserved through family tales but lost to the public knowledge. And as we celebrate Memorial Day each year, it serves as a reminder, not just for those who died in past wars, but also as a strength resilient to who, despite being oppressed, have contributed profoundly to our shared history. Thank you. I'm your host, Country Boy. This has been One Mic History. This is the story of the first Memorial Day. If you enjoy shows like this, you can find more stories like this at OneMicHistory.com. Also, I have a new channel, One Mic 2. You can get audio-only episodes there. And I would like to thank all of my Patreon subscribers and my members. I love you all, and without you, none of this could be possible.
You have made it back from the City Services Center, Chuck, and we wanted to end this newscast with talk about the vote that happened just within the last hour at the City Council meeting. You were there and offer your perspective of what went down in a matter of, it was about an hour executive session, right?
Yeah, the headline is the City Council tonight terminated Isaiah Hughley as city manager. They did it on a 7-3 vote. Mr. Hughley has been city manager since 2005. He replaced Carmen Caveza. If you remember, he was one of the deputies before that. He was the city's first Black city manager. The vote was taken. They were in executive session for about an hour. You're right, Phil. Came out of the executive session, and you could tell something had happened. It was somber all the way across the council desk. And Mayor Skip Henderson said what they were in the session for, which was personnel matter. Then Councilor Charmaine Crabb, who's had her own issues with this Sheriff's Department investigative report in the Finance Department, made the motion to terminate Hughley and pay him through the end of December. The motion was seconded, and then Councilor Crabb, Councilor Glenn Davis, Councilor Byron Hickey, Councilor John Anker, Councilor Joanne Kogel, Councilor Toya Tucker, and Councilor Walker Garrett voted to terminate him. The other three councilors, Gary Allen, Bruce Huff, and Travis Chambers, voted not to terminate him. And so nobody wanted to talk when it was over. It was 11 o'clock. We went straight into the newscast. But I think a lot of people will be talking tomorrow. I've been covering city government a long time. It was one of the most stunning things I've ever seen in a city government thing. He's 7 months from retirement, and he was terminated tonight.
All right. Thank you for being there for us, Chuck, and we'll be following, of course, this story much further tomorrow.
Because we don't like each other.
Right. Okay. Stephen A. Smith and LeBron have been trading jabs for weeks, but now Stephen just took it to a whole new level. Word is, he leaked a video that fans are calling career-ending for LeBron. This feud just got real, and it's getting personal. So what did Stephen reveal, and why has it got everyone talking? Let's break it down. Stephen Smith goes too far. The NBA world was rocked earlier this year when one of sports media's most recognizable faces found himself in an unexpected confrontation with basketball royalty. What started as commentary quickly escalated into a heated exchange that would dominate headlines for weeks. The feud between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James has its roots in something deeply personal, a father's protection of his son. You see, Bronny James isn't just any rookie in the NBA. He's the son of perhaps the greatest basketball player of all time. And with that comes a level of scrutiny most young players could never imagine. When Stephen A. Smith decided to share his thoughts about Bronny's NBA readiness, he probably didn't expect it would lead to one of the most public confrontations in recent sports media. Where this all began. In early 2025, Stephen A. Smith made some pointed comments about Bronny James during an episode of First Take, following a game where Bronny played 15 minutes without scoring against the Philadelphia 76 ERs. Smith didn't hold back.
Now let's go to Philadelphia, where Bronny James last night played his most minutes by far in an NBA game last night as the Lakers lost to the 76ers 118-104. Bronny was held scoreless in 15 minutes and struggled guarding Sixers star Tyrese Maxey.
This set the stage for what would become an increasingly critical take. Stephen A. went on to make what many considered a controversial statement about why Bronny was in the NBA at all, saying, "I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad." The commentary didn't stop there. Stephen A. expanded on his thoughts, suggesting that LeBron was doing a disservice not just to his son, but to other aspiring players as well.
Can't go into the G League and average 20, 25, and stay there until he's ready because he's LeBron's son. You know how they're going to judge him. And before anybody wants to jump on me, remember.
Smith continued by drawing comparisons that some felt were unfair, particularly given Bronny's health challenges. Remember, Bronny had suffered a cardiac arrest in July 2023 during his time at USC, which significantly impacted his collegiate career. Despite this, Stephen A. compared Bronny's situation to others, even invoking a boxing analogy about Marvis Frazier being knocked out by Larry Holmes, implying LeBron wasn't protecting his son by pushing him into the league too soon.
I used the boxing analogy on First Take earlier today, and I used Marvis Frazier, the son of Joe Frazier. Go back and look at the highlights. He went into the ring against heavyweight champion Larry Holmes, who had one of the best jabs and one of the best right hands in boxing history.
To fully understand the impact of these comments, we need to look at the numbers Stephen A. was referencing. He repeatedly highlighted Bronny's early NBA statistics, which admittedly weren't impressive on paper.
With LeBron James' mystique hovering over him, 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, 0.4 rebounds. 1 for 16 shooting overall, 0 for 7 from three-point range, 13 games. There are millions of kids out there starving to play in an NBA game that are more qualified than his stats show.
These comments struck a nerve, not just with fans, but as we would soon discover, with LeBron James himself. But to fully appreciate why these remarks were so provocative, we need to understand the context of LeBron's relationship with his son and his very public dream of playing alongside Bronny in the NBA. LeBron had been vocal for years about his desire to share the court with his son. In a 2022 interview, he made his intentions crystal clear, stating, "My last year will be played with my son. Wherever Bronny is at, that's where I'll be. I would do whatever it takes to play with my son for 1 year." This wasn't just a passing comment. It was a dream he had consistently expressed. When that dream became reality in 2024, with the Lakers draft.
When we touch here, maybe just try this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that feels nice. Yep, that's good. So just do that because it feels.
Bronny, LeBron called it his greatest basketball accomplishment.
It's probably, when it comes to basketball, it's the greatest accomplishment that I've ever had. Done it all as an individual, but there's no greater accomplishment that would be able to overtake me being on the same floor as my son. So
this wasn't just a professional milestone, it was deeply personal. LeBron's passion for his children's development has been evident throughout his career. He's coached Bronny in youth leagues and has been a constant presence in his basketball journey. When his son suffered that cardiac arrest in 2023, LeBron and the family provided unwavering support, issuing statements and ensuring his recovery, which underscores their close bond. We can see LeBron's dedication to his children in moments like his acceptance speech at the 2023 ESPYs.
Also want to thank my beautiful 3 kids, Bronny, Bryce, and Zuri. I mean, it means so much to me to have you guys here up on stage. I've been here over my 20 years on this stage a few times, but this one is really damn special. All I can say is just thank you guys for being amazing kids, all 3 of you. The greatest blessing in my life. To my mother, who's not here, Gloria, that's my GOAT.
Given this background, it's easier to understand why Stephen A. Smith's comments would touch such a raw nerve. While Smith was technically criticizing LeBron's decision-making as a father, he was also directly questioning something LeBron considered his greatest accomplishment. But there's another layer to this story that makes it even more complex. Stephen A. Smith has a history with LeBron James that precedes this incident. Their relationship hasn't always been warm, with Smith often offering critical commentary about LeBron's career decisions and on-court performance. This existing tension meant that any comments about LeBron's son would inevitably be interpreted through the lens of their already complicated dynamic. Even as Stephen A. was criticizing LeBron's approach with Bronny, he attempted to soften the blow by acknowledging LeBron's qualities as a father.
Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great actor, great producer, great director, great. How many times have I said that?
But these qualifiers weren't enough to prevent what would happen next. The brewing tension would soon boil over in a public confrontation that neither man probably expected would become national news. The moment came on March 6, 2025, during a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks. What happened courtside that night would take this commentary from sports talk to front page news. A viral video captured LeBron approaching Stephen A. Smith, who was sitting courtside with visible anger. According to reports, LeBron told Smith, "Yo, you gotta stop talking about my son. You gotta stop with my son. That's my son. That's my son." The confrontation happened in front of other celebrities and was witnessed by many in attendance. The next day, Stephen A. Smith addressed the confrontation on First Take, acknowledging that he had been approached by LeBron, but carefully framing his understanding of the situation.
That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. By all accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son.
Smith went on to explain that he felt LeBron had misunderstood the intent behind his commentary.
I would have said to LeBron James, I never would speak negatively about your son. I was talking about you, meaning you, LeBron James. I have nothing but the best wishes for Bronny James. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that he flourishes into an NBA star.
But was this really about a misunderstanding? Or was there something more fundamental at play, the intersection of sports commentary, parental protection, and the boundaries of public criticism? As this story unfolded, fans and fellow athletes would take sides, media personalities would weigh in, and what began as commentary about a rookie's NBA readiness would evolve into a much larger conversation about media responsibility, parental devotion, and the sometimes blurry line between professional criticism and personal attack. The stage was set for a feud that would continue to escalate, with both men using their considerable platforms to defend their positions. And as we'll see in the next segment, this confrontation was just the beginning of a public back and forth that would reveal much about both men and the culture they operate within. Their feud gets worse and worse. The confrontation between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith at the Knicks-Lakers game might have been just a moment of tension had both men chosen to handle it privately afterward. Instead, what followed was a series of increasingly hostile public exchanges that transformed a disagreement into one of the most talked about feuds in recent sports media history. After the initial courtside confrontation, both men took to their respective platforms to address what had happened. While Stephen A. Smith's initial response on First Take had seemed measured, his tone would shift dramatically in subsequent appearances. On his YouTube show, he described LeBron's actions as bullshit and weak, emphasizing that he felt it was a parent, not a player, confronting him. But Smith didn't stop there. In a comment that would further inflame the situation, he claimed he would have immediately swung if LeBron had touched him during their confrontation. Smith acknowledged he would likely lose such a confrontation, but stood firm on his position. This escalation moved the conversation from professional disagreement to implications of physical confrontation.
I basically told him we can throw down right now in front of everyone. Let's have at it. Me and you, one-on-one in the middle of the court. And of course, that uncle refused. He don't have that R like.
This clip, though appearing to be from LeBron, was actually a satirical response created to mock the situation, reflecting how the feud had become fodder for social media humor. The real-world exchange continued to intensify across various platforms. LeBron, not typically one to engage in prolonged media battles, took his turn to address the situation during an appearance on the Pat McAfee Show. He criticized Smith for personal attacks rather than focusing on court play, stating, "When you take it and get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players." In the same interview, LeBron compared Smith's media tour to being on a Taylor Swift tour run, a jab at what he perceived as Smith's desire for attention. The war of words continued to escalate when Stephen A. Smith responded to LeBron's interview on his show, claiming LeBron is full of it and is a liar. The personal nature of these exchanges made it clear that what had begun as commentary about Bronny's NBA readiness had evolved into something much more personal between the two men. As their public statements grew more hostile, the basketball community found itself taking sides. Charles Barkley, known for his own outspoken commentary, weighed in on the escalation, noting the personal nature of the dispute. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was even asked about the feud, given its prominence in basketball circles. Perhaps the most damaging turn in the feud came when Smith made a claim about LeBron that went beyond basketball. During a heated exchange in late March 2025, Smith claimed that LeBron had not attended Kobe Bryant's memorial service in 2020. This statement, made during an emotional moment, would prove problematic. After significant backlash, Smith was forced to retract this claim, apologizing on X, formerly Twitter, and admitting he misspoke. He clarified that LeBron had indeed attended the memorial, but had requested to remain off camera. This retraction highlighted how the feud had escalated to the point where facts were becoming casualties in the emotional exchanges. The controversy over the Kobe Bryant memorial attendance was particularly sensitive given the emotional context. Research shows that LeBron's attendance at the memorial wasn't publicly confirmed, with reports suggesting he may have chosen to grieve privately. Smith's false claim and subsequent retraction added another layer of complexity to their feud, with many viewing it as an unnecessary personal attack. As the conflict played out publicly, NBA fans weren't shy about picking sides. On social media platform X, fans expressed strong opinions about the feud, often supporting LeBron and criticizing Stephen A. Smith's approach. One fan noted, "Talking shit for 20 years then playing victim is insane," while another pointed out the perceived double standard. People have been criticizing Bron for the last 22 years, but the moment he finally speaks out, he's in his feelings and being petty. On Reddit, the support for LeBron was even more pronounced. Comments included, "Cook that fraud," "Dude ruined ESPN," and "SAS is a clown, glad Bron is calling him out." Another fan remarked, "I wish more players would check these dudes for the dumb shit they say," suggesting a broader frustration with sports media commentary. What made this feud particularly notable was how it revealed the sometimes contentious relationship between athletes and the media personalities who cover them. One Reddit comment with over 2,700 upvotes claimed, "Players do not and have never liked Stephen A. I don't know how some fans don't know this, but he's never been a guy they talk to. They don't go on his shows," KD has said before he lies about players talking to him and giving him news no one FW Stephen A. This suggested that the LeBron-Stephen A. conflict wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of tension between Smith and NBA players. The feud also highlighted the complex dynamics of covering athletes' families. Comments like, "Looks like LeBron said, 'Keep my son out of this shit, bro,' with nearly 9,000 upvotes, and 'Keep my son's name out of your fucking mouth," with over 5,000 upvotes, showed that many fans understood and supported LeBron's protective stance as a father. As the public exchanges continued, both men seemed unwilling to back down. LeBron even took to social media to mock Stephen A. Smith, posting a video of Smith boxing with a mocking womp womp sound effect after scoring a late winner against the Indiana Pacers. This demonstrated that even as LeBron was performing at an elite level on the court, the feud remained front of mind. The intensity of their conflict raised questions about the role of sports media in today's landscape. Has commentary become too personal? Is there a line between analyzing an athlete's performance and criticizing their personal decisions? And when does commentary about a player's family cross the line? Some observers saw the feud as ultimately harmful to the NBA brand. An article in Yardbarker described the conflict as bad for business, highlighting ESPN's role in amplifying such conflicts. Others saw it as entertainment, with fans describing it as a comedy show and enjoying the drama. By late April 2025, there were signs that the feud might be cooling down. X posts from both Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James showed no direct mentions of their conflict, suggesting a possible cooling off period. Smith's post focused on NBA playoffs and other topics, while LeBron's discussion.
Check out this screenshot of my credit score. Just a few months ago, it was in the low 500s. That all changed when
discussed his injury and the Met Gala. This lack of recent activity indicated the feud might not have escalated further, though it remained unresolved with no formal reconciliation reported. What's particularly interesting about this entire saga is how it reveals the complex relationship between athletes, media, and public perception. Stephen A. Smith built his career on provocative commentary, often walking the line between insight and incitement. For years, this approach has made him one of the most recognizable figures in sports media. LeBron James, meanwhile, has spent over 2 decades in the public eye, carefully crafting his image as both an elite athlete and a family man. When these two powerful personalities collided over something as personal as a father's relationship with his son, the resulting friction was perhaps inevitable. But there's another dimension to this story that deserves exploration. How do the facts about Bronny James's NBA readiness and performance compare to the narrative that sparked this feud? Is there truth to Stephen A. Smith's criticism, or was LeBron right to be defensive of his son's place in the league? To answer these questions, we need to look beyond the heated exchanges and examine Bronny's actual performance, development, and the context surrounding his entry into the NBA. We also need to consider the unique pressure faced by a young player entering the league, not just as a rookie, but as the son of arguably the greatest player of all time. How does that factor into evaluations of his readiness and potential? In the next segment, we'll dive into these questions, examining the reality of Bronny James' NBA journey, LeBron's involvement in his development, and whether the criticisms that sparked this high-profile feud were justified or misplaced. We'll look at the statistics, expert opinions, and compare Bronny's situation to other players to get a more complete picture of the young player at the center of this controversy. The reality of Bronny's NBA journey. While the feud between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James dominated headlines, at its core was a fundamental question. Was Bronny James ready for the NBA? To properly evaluate this, we need to look at the actual facts of Bronny's performance, development, and the unique circumstances surrounding his entry into the league. Bronny James was drafted 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers in 2024. As a second-round pick, expectations would typically be measured for any player in that position. His role with the Lakers has been primarily as a bench player with limited minutes, averaging 6.7 minutes per game in 27 appearances during the 2024 to 2025 season. His NBA statistics include 2.3 points, 0.7 rebounds, and 0.8 assists, with shooting percentages of 31.3% from the field and 28.1% from three. These numbers alone might support Stephen A. Smith's contention that Bronny wasn't ready for regular NBA minutes. However, there's more to the story than just the NBA stats. In the G League with the South Bay Lakers, Bronny showed significantly stronger performance, averaging 21.9 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 5.3 assists over 11 games, with better shooting efficiency, 44.3% from the field and 38% from three. This stark contrast between his G League and NBA numbers suggests that Bronny does possess skills that could develop with more playing time at the appropriate level. It's also important to consider the context of Bronny's path to the NBA. Unlike many players who spend multiple years developing in college, Bronny had just one season at USC, which was significantly impacted by a cardiac arrest he suffered in July 2023. This health setback, which hospitalized him for 3 days, likely affected his college production and subsequent development. His college stats were modest: 4.8 points on 36% shooting and 19.3 minutes per game at USC. When evaluating Bronny's NBA readiness, it's also worth comparing him to other players drafted in similar positions. For instance, Guy Santos, the 55th pick in 2022, averaged 4.1 points and 2.8 rebounds over 72 games in 2 seasons. Aaron Wiggins, the 55th pick in 2021, progressed to 11.7 points and 3.8 rebounds in his 4th season. This suggests that players drafted late in the second round often need time to develop before making significant NBA contributions. Coaches and scouts have offered mixed but generally optimistic assessments of Bronny's potential. Lakers coach J.J. Redick noted, "I think his confidence is growing. Next step is becoming an elite conditioned athlete." Redick also praised Bronny's ability to handle the scrutiny that comes with his famous lineage. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka highlighted specific positive plays, including defensive contributions and a corner three against Denver in March 2025. Former NBA star Carmelo Anthony offered a particularly positive long-term outlook, predicting in a couple years Bronny is going to be a real NBA player, like a real solid NBA player. This assessment from a respected former player suggests that while Bronny might not be making an immediate impact, his development trajectory could lead to a successful NBA career. Scouts have echoed this sentiment, with one stating, "Can he play in the NBA? Absolutely. Being a role player isn't bad," though questioning why he played only 18 G League games instead of a full season for more development. Another noted improvement from the start of the year, calling it a pretty positive season. These professional evaluations suggest that while Bronny might not be making an immediate NBA impact, he's on a developmental path that could lead to success. It's also worth noting that Bronny showed significant improvement as the season progressed. On April 25th, 2025, following a strong performance by Bronny against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he scored 17 points and dished out 5 assists in 30 minutes, Stephen A. Smith himself revisited his stance, stating, "I might have been wrong about Bronny's NBA readiness." This acknowledgement suggests that even Smith recognized there was development happening that might have contradicted his earlier criticism. When we look at the statistics, expert opinions, and Bronny's development curve, a more nuanced picture emerges than the one presented in the heat of the feud. Bronny James appears to be a developing player with potential who, like many late second-round picks, needs time to adapt to the NBA level. His G League performances suggest that talent is there, even if his early NBA minutes haven't yielded impressive results. This context helps us better understand both sides of the feud. Stephen A. Smith's criticism of Bronny's early NBA minutes wasn't entirely without merit based on the statistics, but his approach, particularly comparing Bronny's situation to a boxer being knocked out and questioning LeBron's judgment as a father, crossed into territory that many, including LeBron, found inappropriate. LeBron's reaction, while perhaps more confrontational than ideal, is understandable through the lens of a father protecting his son from what he perceived as unfair public criticism. LeBron's deep involvement in Bronny's basketball development, from coaching him in youth leagues to publicly celebrating his achievements, demonstrates a father who is deeply invested in his son's success and well-being. There's also the matter of the unique pressure Bronny faces as LeBron's son. No other rookie in the 2024 draft class entered the league with the same level of scrutiny or expectations. This context matters when evaluating both Bronny's performance and the reactions to it. As Lakers coach JJ Redick acknowledged, Bronny's ability to handle this scrutiny is impressive in itself. LeBron's advocacy for Bronny hasn't been limited to defending him against criticism. Throughout Bronny's development, LeBron has been a consistent presence, coaching him in youth leagues like the North Coast Blue Chips and through his own program, Strive for Greatness. He's frequently used social media to celebrate Bronny's achievements, such as posting on Instagram after Bronny's high school victory over LeBron's alma mater and his McDonald's All-American Game selection. In January 2025, LeBron wrote, "Grateful of you, kid," on X after Bronny's career-high 31 points in the G League. These public expressions of support show a father who is genuinely proud of his son's accomplishments, regardless of external criticisms or expectations. LeBron has also been quick to defend Bronny against criticism, emphasizing his son's mental fortitude. In a July 2024 ESPN interview, LeBron stated, "I don't know if people really understand Bronny. He doesn't care. I actually care a little bit. He does not care about nobody," highlighting Bronny's readiness for NBA scrutiny. This defense was particularly important given the controversy surrounding Bronny's draft, with some viewing it as nepotism. When we step back from the heat of the feud and look at the broader picture, we can see that both Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James were coming from places that made sense to them. Smith, in his role as a commentator, was pointing out legitimate concerns about Bronny's NBA readiness based on statistics and performance, but his delivery and the personal nature of
I'm falling into you. You got control of me. I'm down. Won't be so crazy. I know how to live a better way. I'm falling into you. You got control of me. I'm down. Won't be so crazy. I know how to live a better way. I'm falling into you. You got control of me. I'm down. Won't be so crazy. I know how to live a better way. I'm falling into you. You got control of me. I'm down. Won't be so crazy. I know how to live a better way. I'm falling into you. You got control of me. I'm down. Won't be so crazy. I know how to live a better way.
Well, we're just having a little fun day, a Thunder Thursday, and of course that is one of the places in Columbus that grown folks go to for R&R, for recreation and relaxation. A little fun time. That's of course at the center stage and live entertainment. You know, I'm a junkie for live entertainment, and of course, Fox Roxy. She's Miss Live Entertainment along with Lady Coco 706 and Jamisa and many others, of course. Do a fine job of making sure that live entertainment in Columbus, Georgia is live and well. And so we need to support, because many times we can't go nowhere because, listen, we support the places where grown folks go. You know, there's obviously there's over on St. Mary's Road, the F&W Control Tower, and of course Center Stage, one on the east side of town. If you're on the south side, east side, well, of course, you know, the F&W is there, and then of course you're on the north side and downtown and eastern part of the east side, you got Center Stage. And so what we're trying to say is that we got to cut. These are difficult times, and we can go somewhere where we can get some positive vibrations, people enjoying themselves, for a moment, just to kind of take some of the edge off and be among people who. And the thing about it is that, I always enjoy people. When people enjoy seeing each other, it's almost like, like a reunion every Mellow Monday there at Center Stage. And so we like to certainly thank Tony Parkman. He always been of course, maybe he's doing like took it to another level because I remember when he and Daryl Sunbury, when they was Daryl and Tony, we used to make sure that we had them in the house, and matter of fact, I was blessed to be able to have them on opening up one of our shows that we promoted back in the day, and so of course he has some Carver roots, even though I know he got a lot of Kendrick in him, but he has some Carver roots too, and East Wyndham roots and things like that, and so we're just delighted to support. And long they keep it to whereby grown folks has a place that they can go and don't worry about the kids acting the fool, can't handle positivity, and that's what I'm trying to say is some laughs and enjoyment, and there's people that's grown and sexy. I mean, people get a chance to dress up a little bit, and of course the Monday Mellow Mondays, and of course Fox Roxy, she does it all, and so she's certainly up in the place, and so we try to encourage, and if there are some events that you all are having out there that you want us to encourage people to, then give us a call, and if they meet our criteria, grown and sexy and positive vibe, and that's what all about. And by the way, if you want to make reservations, hit me up. I want a table, want to do a birthday party. Of course, I can't forget. Of course, the watering hole. Of course, my water is ginger juice and sea moss juice, and there's spices. Okay, so those are three places that I can kind of attest to. Their grown folks vibe. Spices, and that's certainly out on the east side. On the south side, then the F&W Control Tower. Then on the north side, that's Center Stage. That's right. In the Old Main Street Village, and those are places. Again, I'm just saying that the grown folks, have a good time in. And if you're childish and you negative, you're not going to be comfortable in these places because they're positive people, and people come out to greet and to meet new friends. And say, tell a friend, so then we all can become friends, and that's what it's all about. So again, we have several. How much time we got tonight, Julian?
It's 8:38 now.
Oh, 8:30. Okay, we'll take a few more minutes. But what's going on in your world? What's going on with the I guess the 20th generation? What's going on with y'all?
Well, for me, it's summertime, so of course school is out. They just had all the graduations basically. So work out in the community first and foremost, but also work paying the rent as well.
That part,
so, get some more. I'm trying to get my savings up. That's really the goal.
I'm trying to get mine up too. Hope you get yours up.
So it don't ever end. You always
that's my part. I'm just saying.
Savings.
I thought I had them up, then they hit them balance. They hit them balance, and they got to climb the mountain again. So
right. That's what it's looking like. But I'm staying positive.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, man. Hey, you still, as long as you're in it, you can win it.
Right.
So when you're out of it, I mean, so like that's what I say. As long as we here to try to make another day and make it better, no doubt about it. But I did want to just say a few words again about Memorial Day, and and I'm going to go right to it. I think that I think we've already played the piece right about Memorial Day, and that we want to set the record. The truth is not designed to make you feel good. Truth is designed to help you become better. That's my quote, and I stand by it. And so therefore, Memorial Day, the real Memorial Day, started with those who have been formerly incarcerated and fought in the Civil War to free their fellow brothers and sisters, had a Memorial Day. And then the next thing we looked around is that it had been co-opted to talk about foreign wars around the world. And I'm not even getting into the wars around the world and all that. I'm just saying that the real Memorial Day was about us fighting for freedom and fighting for make America a better place for all of us who contributed to its development. And primarily, of course, we know who made the greatest sacrifice in the construction of America that everybody else can eat off the tree now. That is those of African descent. And so we just want to make sure that really our criteria is not so much what you did in Vietnam, in Germany, in France, in England, and Korea, Japan. It's what are you doing right here in your neighborhood? That's Memorial Day. What about those who made the sacrifices here in America? The Malcolm X's, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's, the Marcus Garveys, the A. Philip Randolphs, the Dr. Martin Luther King, the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Stokely Carmichaels, the Imam Jamil El-Amin, the Fred Hamptons, and many other unknown and unsung heroes. What we're just trying to say is that we have to, we can get our minds on something, but we have to not forget those people who made, and of course we can't forget about W.B. Du Bois, and then Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Joseph Ben Jochannan, and of course, Booker T. Washington, the boss. So I mean, like these are the people that we want to celebrate, and those who have followed in those footsteps, those who are fighting right here to help us become better than we were yesterday. And so that's the Memorial Day that I celebrate. I don't celebrate, what goes on in foreign countries. I really don't know many foreign countries who had the capability to come all the way across the water, and like that. So so I'm not going to get into those parts, but I'm just trying to say, many of you veterans, we pray that you will join our mentoring campaign. We're trying to get mentor. Now that's Memorial Day that we're talking about, saving our young people. That's our challenge today, saving our young people from incarceration, from early death, from hopelessness. And by the way, we have a lot of people, and we pray that those of you out there who are real mothers, that some people get flowers day for Mother's Day, but everybody got those flowers were not real mothers, and we can tell by the fruit that they treat. Some of these situations, these children, they need mothers today, and not it's fine. We understand that we have to make that you have to make money in order to deal with necessities, but that we've always said that, and even in harsher times, that the real women never forgot motherhood. They never forgot the sacrifices. And I can remember, when my grandmother, who worked, I think made $20 a week, for full time doing working, and so she's always gonna be my heroine, no doubt about it. And so and then my father and my grandfathers, made a way out of no way in many cases. They created entrepreneurship, making sacrifices to be a man among men, in a society that made it rather difficult. And so today, like I say many times, we need more men. We got a lot of adult males, but we need fewer gangsters and more gosters. It seems to me that either people they either put the community in a bad place, and then they retire, and then they do nothing. My thing is that if you've done a lot of dirt, then you should be doing a lot of cleaning up. Also, don't retire. Say, well, I'm not going to do that no more. No, don't retire. Start saying, well, I'm going to help others not do those things. I'm going to save our young people from what I had to go through. And that's for ladies as well as gentlemen. Okay. And so that's what we're saying now. We need better mothers. Question always, and for you to answer and for you to ask other people as well. Which is worse? Toxic mamas or absent fathers? And if the mamas are toxic, why are they toxic? They're toxic because they either didn't listen to their parents, or their parents didn't know any better than to teach them how to be responsible. And the mothers, you got to teach love. You got to nurture your children, give them hugs, so that they'll be willing to listen to their fathers if you allow them, and you don't degrade their fathers. And fathers, you got to step up and do your part to make sure you're available to help, because no parent can raise children. And I know that there's some mothers who have 5 to 6 children trying to raise them by herself. No. What we're saying, and then that puts her in to perpetuate the curse of family disintegration, and it puts you in as a father in a place of being an enemy to your family and enemy to your community by taking on occupations that are hazardous to you and your family, and also that are attributing to the poisoning of our community, whether the poisoning through drugs, or whether the poisoning through violence, or the poisoning through just destruction within the family. So violence in the community, violence in the home, All of that must be healed. But it starts by having better mothers and better fathers. We have to stop defending people who spend all this time on Facebook talking about how bad this one is and how bad. Let's talk about solutions. And that's one thing about it, that what we try to do here, that's some topics that are kind of soft, kind of tender to some of us. But the bottom line is, this is where we want to do. We want to talk about the hard, tender things. We must do that. So I do want to thank you all for being with us tonight. And as always, we thought side wheels kind of loosen up a little bit and just kind of play some of the views, of course. What do you think about the LeBron and Stephen A. Smith situation? That's a situation there that different points of view. But my thing is that Stephen A. Smith, he's informed about something, but he's not informed about other things. I'm not sure if he's a father or not. I'm assuming he is, but I'm trying to say he can understand. And I'm trying to say America's about hookups. I mean, so if you're a father and you can hook your child up, you're supposed to hook them up. That's what you're supposed to do. So I mean, why you gonna head on that? The bottom line is that at the end of the day, he'll make his way or he don't make his way. But the bottom line is the father's supposed to put him in whatever position he can, especially when the child is listening to the father. And LeBron seems to be very, very delighted with the quality, the character of his children. And I think that's really what it's all about. So, and then what was another one we played out there tonight?
It was Memorial Day, the history of the Masons in America, and
and that's we're going to have a show of that. But I want to invite some of my Masonic, those who stand on the square as Masons, and we're going to perhaps reflect on. We're probably going to run that back again because it needs some digesting. I mean, we need to process that a little bit and I'm challenging our Masonic community that we need mentors. And by the way, we know the people that there are different groups, fraternities and other groups that got mentoring. Listen, this is not the time for that kumbaya type mentoring. We need to organize in a broader community wide, not just I got my mentoring program. Oh yeah, we got a mentoring program over here. No, we're talking about a citywide mentoring program. We're talking about a prayer so we can have a greater impact. And I still will say this as well. We can argue and fuss about a lot of things, but the saddest thing to me is that we're not arguing and fighting to support and reclaim the Liberty Theater on behalf of this community. Right under our nose that we have lost, we done lost it. The Liberty Theater was kidnapped, taken over, and now being homogenized into nothingness. And so somebody needs to stand up and say, get your hands off of the Liberty Theater, give it back to the community, okay? And let the community, challenge the community to come together. And you pastors out here, become real, without being pastors and start being ministers. We got too many pastors and not enough ministers. What is a pastor? A pastor is just a place where people can graze. But we need ministers. We need healing. And that's why these mothers, that's what every church should have, a mothers and fathers ministry. Where the mothers are learning how to be mothers and the fathers are learning how to be fathers. But pastors, you can't do it until you become a minister. So get some backbone and become, we need more real men that are going to stand. Sometimes, real men get it wrong, but at least they're trying to, look, if you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for everything. So we're saying if you're in a church or you're in whatever faith-based institution and they're not doing anything to save our children, not just the ones in their church, not just the ones in their faith institution, we're talking about saving children throughout our community because we're saying all the church should be working, but to get them, every neighborhood, if you don't have the people in your neighborhood coming to your church or coming to your mosque or some coming to your synagogue, or come to whatever your house of worship is. If you don't have the people right there in your neighborhood, you're not doing something right. It should be a neighborhood situation. People should be able to walk to their faith-based institution. And another thing about it is this: if you don't have a Saturday school, a Saturday liberation school where children can learn about our history and learn about what is going on now and what kind of a lifestyle they need to have in order to create opportunities, trades, so that they can actually be gainful. People in this area, Columbus, Georgia, I think make around $1.5 billion income, but probably $1.75 billion of it going outside the community. I mean, you know, we should have businesses. We should have businesses to reflect that everything that you're spending money on, and people need to look at your budget and see what you're spending money on. I know one thing we spend money on is groceries. Where's our grocery store? The Black Wall Street movement says, where's the grocery store? Are we spending money on our car? Where's our Black-owned service station to get gas and other things like that? What are we spending money on, Brother Julian? Clothing. Where are the Black-owned clothing stores?
I'm thinking Lincoln Party, you know.
Oh my! Please don't start me on that. but before I go, my pet peeve is, the truth be told, I'm getting sick of people holding up traffic, trying to turn into liquor stores and get chicken. You got whole lines of the highway, people lining up, coming from work or going with it, and you got somebody standing right in front of the chicken place trying to make a left. Right in front of the liquor store, holding up traffic, trying to get in the liquor store. I'm sick and tired of that, okay? Go around the block. Don't be blocking up people doing rush hour, trying to get a piece of chicken. Don't be blocking up the highway and almost causing accidents, trying to get some liquor. My Lord, what danger have you? No shame. So anyway, that's my word for today. And stop tailgating. Okay, speed. I mean, just drive normal. People gonna they gonna run 50 miles per hour, then stop all of a sudden at the light. I don't care if the light is green or wasn't red. Hey, listen, you can't drive nobody's car. Just drive your car and slow your roll. Slow your roll. So, any last thoughts before we go, Julian? Anything people need to know about?
Well, I guess we got to.
Oh yeah. By the way, let me say this: if you have a child between the ages of 14 and 24, if you have a child between the ages of 14 and 24, we have a mentoring program that we'd like to enroll them in so that we can help save their lives, save them from the streets. And if they're in the streets, that means they're not respecting their parents. And they're not respecting their parents because their parents, for whatever reason, they feel more love in the streets than they do in their home. And we got to start bringing, and that might be one of our things. Bring back the love to the hood. Bring back the love to the hood and to the houses in the hood. Let's make houses homes again. Right now, we got too many houses and not enough homes. Let's bring back the homes in our community. So, about one other thing I'd like to say to the Kellys out there on Pierce Road, we had a great time. And as always, fellowship, we've been knowing some people ever since first grade. I mean, a long, long time. We've grown up together, and it was really, really good time. And by the way, if anybody see Bob Leonard, I understand he's sneaking in and out of town. Tell him to give me a call, please. Anybody know Robert Bob Leonard? You used to be in the print, used to be in the cleaners business, used to be in the liquor store business. That Bob Leonard, Dog Man's brother. If anybody's seen him in town, ask him to give Dr. Hood a call. Just like to say hello to him, because we missed him at the Kellys hosting the Memorial Day celebration. And I would like to thank all of you who did come out and enjoy it. And by the way, If you want to get some good food, you might get a discount. I don't know, but go to Chester's, any Chester's in town, and just tell them that Dr. Hood from Visions Now, the Supper Club, said to come there and get their supper, and then you might give either an extra piece of chicken or something, or either might even give them a little discount. I don't know. Now I'm not saying they don't do it or not. Hey, but it don't hurt to ask. So with that, last word.
Just peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. All right, with that having been said, as always, want to say, organize. Promote the Susha Shinda, Rosasa Wazuri. Stay tuned for more. Just watch Wazuri. Right? Peace, soul, love, with a little sprinkle of power. Good night. Peace. Come on to be. Free the land. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Yo. Woo!